What is the? I still don't get the shirt.
God.
Help me understand what this means.
Yeah, Adam, what does that even?
I forgot he was in here. He doesn't know what it means. All right, we'll get to that. Let's start there.
Joining me now is Democratic.
24-minute interview. With Psaki. I call that a Psaki bomb, baby. AOC talks new Democratic primary with Jen Psaki.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York.
Hasan, I misjudged you. You're an actual socialist. Thank you. Where did this come from? What made you change your mind?
Congresswoman, thank you for being here with me tonight.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Let me start by just a lot of people, not just in New York, but across the country, there have been a lot of takes, shall we say, are trying to make sense of what the elections meant, what they mean for the Democratic Party. What do you think they mean?
You know, I think that these elections mean, of course, they are reflections of the constituencies and communities that elected them and that rendered them. And I can say, absolutely, at least in the city of New York, voters are just really ready for a Democratic Party that stands for something and has a very strong agenda to make our lives easier, to tackle corruption, to lower costs, to make healthcare a right for every American, to raise wages, to make unionizing easier in the workplace. And they want to make a forceful statement in how badly they want to see us fight for that. And I think that in any robust year for Democrats, I believe you're going to see an expansion of a party and a deepening of our commitment. And so I actually think that these results are a very good sign for November. To your point, when I was elected in 2018, an election like mine, where voters were willing to really, trade in someone that was supposed to be the presumptive next Speaker of the House in my predecessor, and trade that in for also a Democratic socialist, a new organizer at that time. I think that is actually an indicator of places in other parts of the country willing to elect Democrats, even if the politics are not the same, even if those communities don't align with those with those same exact agendas. They are willing to take a chance for a better future. And so I don't think that people should be seeing this as a zero-sum game. I think they should be seeing it as encouraging for November.
It's interesting because even in the state of New York, and you alluded to this, I mean, Michael Lasher, you probably don't share every opinion or position with him. You definitely don't share every position, I don't think, with Richie Torres on a number of things. Both of them won in primaries that night. I mean, Michael Lasher in a very competitive one. Do you think this is because, and I just played some of what people on the right wing are saying on television, that this is an over.
What is this? Honestly, this might be it for me. I'm tired of waiting for a song. Like, I don't have anything better to do. Clearly, he doesn't respect our time. Oh, God, you're so stupid. You're so fucking... God damn it. The fucking copy pasta. So dumb. The dumbest copy pasta of all time, dude. I took a piss break. Stop memeing. Stop memeing. No more memes. No more joy. No more joy. No more memes. Fucking got my ass. New Hogwatch. Jordan Clipper at UFC. Ooh, that could be fun.
Torquing of the rise of democratic socialism and not enough of a focus on the broad people who won? Or how do you see that? Because you're a democratic socialist yourself.
I mean, I think that the one thing that we know is that the Republican Party's brand is fear. And they have to constantly churn what they want people to be afraid of. To be afraid of socialists, to be afraid of immigrants, to be afraid of women, to be afraid of... They constantly want Americans in fear of somebody. Because if you are not afraid of someone who is your neighbor, you're going to realize who's actually pickpocketing you. And that is the large corporations that are engaged in profiteering and jacking up your prices for no good reason. It's going to be in this administration that is engaged in record levels of swindling, thefts, tariffs, your housing. And so this is kind of their new thing of the day. But I think that people are feared out. I think that everyone's nerves are shot in constantly being taught and told of what country, person, community to be afraid of. And they just want a solution. They want their groceries to be more affordable. They want to figure out how we're going to get health care. They want our housing to get under control. And I think that we're ready for an affirmative vision and we're ready for an affirmative agenda.
You talked about this week kind of how the fear-mongering, you had deja vu, I think is how you described it. And you just alluded to that and what you just said now. What advice are you giving or would you have for these new members who are coming in and are already being painted in a certain way? And I want to talk about them too, but what advice do you have for them about how to get things done while still shaking up the system at the same time?
Yeah, I think new and incoming members have no shortage of advice that's being given to them.
Well, but you lived it. You lived it in a very different way.
Yes, and I mean, I'll get to them, but I actually think the more important advice that I would give would be to my incumbent colleagues, which is you will create a self-fulfilling prophecy by deciding who these young women are before you've met them. And if you are already panicking and sending little messages in your group chats about how these people need to be reined in and tamped down and shown their place, you are creating the antagonistic dynamic that we do not need. These are two young, talented, intelligent women that got elected against all odds, against millions of dollars. Perhaps there is something we can learn from them.
The people chose them. And democracy and the Democratic Party is about what the people pick. It is not about any elected official or any leader. And I believe that. There are, and I want to ask you about this because I think they are being painted in a certain way. And Daria Lisa, specifically, who is going to be a member of Congress, I think people should recognize. They are going to win in these districts. She has said a couple of things, and I think for people who are watching right now, I just want to remind them of that. She attended a pro-Palestinian rally in Times Square the day after the Hamas attacked Israel. She said...
I can't believe that this is like genuinely a position that MSNBC, which is supposed to be the most like liberal outlet, is still advancing. Like, oh, she was right, but too early for our taste. Okay, well, you were wrong. Why are you still maintaining the position of being wrong, but too late? It's so strange to like punish people for being right, but too early. I think it was Cavernickel that said, any day after 1948, where you attended a pro-Palestinian rally, you would be on the right side of history. Okay? Any day. It doesn't matter if it's October 7, doesn't matter if it's October 8, doesn't matter if it's October 6, 2023. Any day past the point of 1948 where you attended a pro-Palestinian rally, you are technically on the right side of history, okay? Doesn't matter. So what are we talking about?
She was worried about an outsized reaction that cost thousands of people their lives. She has not backed away from attending that rally. She deleted a Twitter account that had a number of posts that called for the abolishment of police and prisons. According to CNN in 2021, this is what there's a reference to. She posted, a world without borders, just like a world without prisons or police, is possible and necessary and the only moral way.
Right. I apologize for misjudging. I'm extremely dumb and thought Hassan was a poser because he lives in a mansion and I thought he hoarded wealth. I saw everything you did for New York primary and I really trust you now. I'm planning on signing up for DSA now. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's just one element of what I'm doing, but hey, we take those. We take those. And he wants to join the DSA. And he wants to join DSA. It's good. Double victory.
Forward. She's again has said those posts don't reflect who she is today. You do not speak for her. You speak for yourself. And I know she's tried to distance herself. She's probably under a greater level of scrutiny she's ever been in her life. But does any of that give you pause?
I think that, as you said, she has indicated that she has regret over the way that she issued those statements. And I genuinely believe that the gravity and the responsibility of this role has a way of inhabiting you. And I genuinely believe that we have to give people the opportunity to occupy their beliefs within the gravity of becoming a duly elected member of Congress. And I think that in the process of running for election, in the process of getting to know your constituents, it's very different than when you're only speaking as an activist or years ago or whatever that may be. But I think where we are right now is that the people of New York's 13th district have elected her. And she is responsible and has absolutely, I think, expressed a sense of responsibility in how she wants to lead. And so, again, I would say, I think it's important to not issue a verdict before these folks arrive. And
controversial take, maybe in this community, I think that's a good statement. You have no idea what she's going to do. You have no idea how she's going to govern. And you're trying to make assessments off of like a 20-year-old shit posting on Twitter on how she's going to govern. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. It's not a bad answer at all. She's not going to be like, oh, Daria Lisa was based when they're accusing her of being anti-miscegenation. I think a better answer on top of this would be like, these are the statements of a 20-year-old organizer who's like understandably frustrated with the way politics is unfolding, right? An inability for our elected representatives to actually make these changes that Daria Lisa was demanding. Her frustrations being expressed in Twitter only show that, only expresses the desires of not just Daria Lisa, but millions, tens of millions of Americans who are sick and tired of business as usual politics. And unlike those tens of millions of Americans, Daria Lisa actually chose to be the change she wanted to see. And now she's going to become a wonderful congressperson, who will push for those bold changes. That's it. Your statements are more concise. I'm sorry. AOC and I have the same exact problem. We are never concise. The one who does this best is Zoran. He is the fucking LeBron James of quick and quippy messaging. I wish I could hold a candle to his level of skill in this field. He is very precise and has perfected the art of sound bites. Okay? Why are you so rude? It's just true. I know my skills. I'm very good at filling time and filling space for 8 hours. I'm very good at, I think, convincing a lot of people on the way I see the world, especially the way I see the world that is like totally unique and new for many Americans, or used to be. becoming not as unique now, so that's good. But you're long-winded and boring, but right? And AOC's long-winded and milquetoast the best. First of all, I'm not boring, I don't think. That's crazy. You watch me for fucking 8 hours a day and find it to be entertaining and find it to be educational. And then you turn around and say, I'm fucking boring. Fuck you.
You know, I went through the same thing. I will never forget. I had this moment. There's, you know, everyone sees the floor of the United States House of Representatives on C-SPAN or whatever when we're casting our votes. But there are these little rooms attached to that floor, and it's known as a cloakroom. And in the cloakroom is where members can rest in between votes, or if you need to get a snack or something. And they have televisions there. And I remember my first term, I was sitting down on one of the couches, and there was this big television screen. And they were going on and on about, you know, the way that they were clipping something that I said out of context to look extreme and to look far more inflammatory than what it was, and most importantly, who I am.
Yep. This is also an area that she has unbelievable expertise in. Because if you are outside of the confines of permissible ideology in American politics, you are going to be inundated with the worst smears of all time. AOC certainly is. If you're outside of the confines of permissible ideology to the left, right? Because you can go as far right as you want pretty much without, you know, reaching the level of, reaching above the level of permissible bigotry as like Nick Fuentes does, right? Like if you're Tucker Carlson, everybody will still accept you in polite society. No matter how far right you go, you can talk about, you know, cultural genocide or the great replacement taking place, white people being undermined, whiteness being undermined. It's white supremacist agitprop, and you can get to do that without people making a big deal out of it. But if you are to the left of the confines of permissible speech, permissible ideology, if you're a socialist, if you're a communist, if you're an anti-imperialist, if you're a prison abolitionist, oh, God forbid, you're a radical, they will destroy you. And they will use some of the most heinous smears to exaggerate your positions or to even take your jokes at face value and make it seem like you're not joking at all. Obviously, I have a lot of experience in this field as well as AOC.
And I remember sitting next to a congressman, my colleague, a Democrat, sitting next to me on the same couch. And he was looking up at that television screen in disgust and just shaking his head. And I was sitting there right next to him. He had never once struck up a conversation with me, but he had made a judgment and determination of who I was. And it was incredibly dehumanizing. I was met with so much hostility and cruelty by the Democratic caucus when I was first elected. And I think that it created so much more antagonism than what was necessary in that.
Yep. Straight up. What is this? God forbid a man have a little misogyny as a treat. I know a guy in the misogyny business. He says they get more leftists and Hasanabi chatters coming in the store than you'd think. Guy who's at the misogyny factory giving me props for creating a robust market of more misogyny enjoyers.
Time. And so I think that both ends of this.
It's so funny, by the way, like, obviously this doesn't mean, this is not a defense against misogyny, but like, I've almost exclusively worked with female candidates this season. Like there are far less male candidates that I'm trying to get elected than female ones. Not that that means anything. Obviously, that's not the end all be all. It's like saying, oh, how could I be misogynistic? I wanted Hillary Rodham Clinton to be president. That doesn't mean that you're not misogynistic, right? That's not a good enough, that's not a sincere academic defense, but it's one that actually probably works with a lot of people. I'm the one man working at the misandry store. Yeah.
Relationship require work, right? Both ends require a stepping up and a certain magnanimity for us all to get what we want.
If anything, no white candidates recently either. Hashtag noticing. No white candidates, only women of color. What's going on? Back in the day, the Democratic Party's caucus was filled to the brim with white men. White men were powerful. White men were on top. Nowadays, you go on the Hasanabi broadcast, and all the candidates that he's advancing and endorsing are women of color. What's going on? Are we being erased? I certainly think so. Who's jacking off to this?
Done. I'm an unabashed progressive, and I want to guarantee health care to every American. That's my agenda. That's why I'm in this business. And there are other Democrats that don't agree with me, and that's all right. They know what I'm after, and I know where they're at. But what I'm not going to do is allow my humanity to be erased, and I don't think that these newly elected officials should have theirs erased either.
I think what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is you think people should give these people a chance and see what they do when they govern. And the challenge seems to be that you, as a leader of this movement, as one of the leaders, are going to have to make sure this doesn't define what the movement is about, I think.
Well, that's the rule. That's the goal now. Erasing white men from video games was not enough. Now they want to erase white men from Congress. They want to take away the power from the hands of white men. What's going on?
So listen to what they're saying now. Everyone's talking about pulling statements and things from years ago, but they just ran an election. Listen to what they've been saying now. Listen to what they ran on now. And the mandate and the message that they gave their voters, because that is their voters' expectation of them. And so I would say, for every one statement from years ago that someone wants to pull up, please pull up 5 of what she's been discussing in her debates.
I want to talk about where things go.
I think the other counter to this that's also more effective, and I will stand on this, is that, like, her worldview is more empathetic and closer to justice, if not totally just, than the average American congressperson. Like, the average American congressperson is perfectly comfortable with maybe not mass deportations, even though on the Republican side, they clearly advanced that agenda, which is heinous. It's monstrous. But even the average Democratic congressperson is comfortable with a level of deportations that are totally inhumane, as opposed to the alternative, which is conditional amnesty, right? I would much rather have allies that I might not fully agree with on the side of truth and justice than allies that are comfortable with tens of millions of deportations. Okay? That's it. We have to expand the permission structure and allow more radical voices on the left to be able to advance their agenda. What is this? What? I've been waiting for... I was being sarcastic. Chill. The Jews are trying to replace the white man. Okay, dude, you can't say that when I'm doing Tucker Carlson voice as though you're also doing a Tucker Carlson impersonation without people, there's no context there. You understand?
From here, because I think there are so many hopes probably from every person watching, anybody out there who's concerned about what they're seeing from Grandpa in the Oval Office to happen right now, about what Democrats will get done. And I know you've said in the past you would support Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker, and you can tell me again if that remains the case. Senator Slotkin, who I would say is one of the Democrats that you may agree with on a lot, you may not agree with on everything, I suspect. She had this to say. She said, we need significant new leadership. If people can't recognize that the game has fundamentally changed and can't adapt, then they need to make room for others who can. And she was referring to Jeffries, and she's, of course, in the Senate, to Schumer as well. What do you think about that? And what do you think Jeffries needs to do to prove that, if you think he needs to do anything to prove that?
Well, I think that anyone who says and issues a statement like this, I think it's important for them to get prescriptive about the changes that they want to see. I've been pretty clear about where I think the country should go. I think that we need to move forcefully to guarantee health care to every American. I think we need to move forcefully towards raising wages and taking on corporate corruption and profiteering. But there are a lot of folks who talk about change in leadership that don't necessarily articulate what their direction is. And so I would say that it's important that when we talk about change, we talk pretty specifically about the kind of changes that we want, because there are a lot of people in this country and there are a lot of forces and lobbyists that want the Democratic Party to become even more pro-corporate than it is. And so not everyone talking about change is talking about the same thing. And so when I talk about change, I talk about orienting the Democratic Party to be unabashedly working class and to orient itself again around working class Americans. And I think that part of the conversation, because it's kind of in vogue to be talking about change, when people aren't prescriptive about what those changes need to be, I think we need to be asking further questions.
I read just a part of what you said. I take your point. Do you still feel, though, if Democrats went back to the House, that Hakeem Jeffries is the right person to lead?
I've engaged in many conversations with Leader Jeffries. And for me, and we have a broad caucus, right? For me, I have made very clear that one of my priorities in determining and in a leader determination is securing public housing financing for New York City. And
this tweet's a good answer on why AOC supports Jeffries. I actually like AOC's answer about Jeffries because she at least keeps him accountable to a specific policy, which she had no leverage or room to do with Pelosi. Caucus votes have never been on the left side anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue I have is that she's not ambiguous about. She's unambiguously in support of Hakeem Jeffries, and I don't think we should be rewarding him in any way, shape, or form. Although maybe there is an opportunity here because Lisa Slotkin shitting on Jeffries opens up a new fucking fight between establishment Democrats in the Senate versus the Congressional Black Caucus. And that's good. I like that. Because the Congressional Black Caucus is an unbelievably powerful force in Democratic Party politics. Okay? So any kind of friction between establishment Democrats and the Congressional Black Caucus, which is a power center of establishment Democrats, is good for us. It's great for us, as a matter of fact. Established Democrats are ideologically centrist, so that friction means nothing. You don't know that because I just showed you another serious battle taking place in Florida 20, where the Congressional Black Caucus is at odds with the other factions within the establishment Democrats. Debbie Wasserman Schultz carpetbagging into a black district to be the face of this black district instead of black representation. It's power plays. It's just politics. They're playing politics.
And Leader Jeffries has made his prioritization for the residents of public housing very clear. And for that reason, I will be supporting Hakeem Jeffries for leader.
You know how this works. We have to take a very quick break. You've been so generous with your time. We're going to stick around. First, I just want to play you something quite telling. You may have seen this, but it's been a busy day. In case people haven't seen it at home, that Speaker Johnson told a room full of Christian conservatives at the Faith and Freedom Coalition's annual summit today. It's quite something.
If we were to lose the midterms, heaven forbid, these Democrats, y'all, impeachment's not even the big concern. They will turn every committee of Congress into an investigative body, and they'll go after the president's family, the cabinet, his donors and friends. Half of you in this room will be targeted. I run the protection program. I'll take care of you, okay?
I'm going to get your thoughts on that when we come back.
Yeah, he's Mr. Epstein defender. Holy shit.
We're back with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay, before the break, I played a clip of Little Mike Johnson, as I like to call him, laying out how a Democratic majority in Congress would investigate the president, the cabinet, donors, and friends. It all sounds, I think, probably to a lot of people watching and a lot of people out there who were infuriated by the level of corruption, pretty good. But you've also talked about a lot of things you deeply care about. Healthcare, affordable housing. I know there are many other things. What do you see as the right priorities, balance of things, especially as it relates to investigations and accountability? Where does that fall and how much time should be spent on that?
I mean, I, of course, I spent many years on the oversight on the Oversight Committee in Congress, which is in charge of investigations. During the first Trump administration, I helped, I helped on the investigation of Michael Cohen at the time, which led to a record settlement from Attorney General Tish James. But I think that it really is it genuinely is a situation of we can walk and chew gum at the same time. There are certain committees that I think will be spearheading real investigations into this administration. There has to be accountability, and it has to be because we cannot allow this level of corruption to consume our public service and our government ever again. And the only way that you allow that, or the only way that you set that precedent, is by aggressive investigation and consequence. And oftentimes, some of the things that do come out in congressional...
Josh Gottheimer is dodging you? Yeah, I know. I saw. So, that is the promise to America, okay? What is this? Felix Frisch, director of the Promise 2026. Yeah. The Promise to America said, comrades, congrats on your big close primary win in a district Kamala won by 59 points. We'd love to hear your objections to the content of the Promise to America. Let us know a time that works for you to Zoom next week. I said, send me Josh Gottheimer, Playboy. They didn't respond to it. DSA said, see you on Hasan the Hun's stream. They did respond to the Democratic Socialists of America. Okay? To the DSA, they responded with, where is it? Comrades, giving millionaire Hasan more viewers on his Amazon-owned platform would be too capitalistic. We offered Zoom and you're accepting. We celebrate July 4th over here, but anytime Wednesday works for Felix Frisch, when works for Ashik Sadiq. Okay? To which I responded with, you can't platform someone that has a bigger platform than you. I'm sure Josh Gottheimer would appreciate teaching a bunch of young radicals a lesson in electability and the importance of moderation. If you're confused about why DSA is winning, perhaps this bundle of content-free cliches peddled by a bunch of people on the take from AIPAC will shed some light on the phenomenon. Yeah, Joshua Reed Eagle, who does communications for Liberalism Organization, liberalism.org, who's on the board of Project Liberal. Yeah, I saw Denver Post allowed an op-ed to be written from the perspective of a Jewish woman voting for Melot Kuros's courage and love for all humanity. We're going to get to that in a little bit. That's coming after this Denver Post opinion editorial. Here's why Melot Kuros's candidacy scares me as a liberal Jewish woman in Colorado. A bit column A, a bit column B. Check that first reply to the, what is it? Ha ha ha. You are so angry you got called out on your grift. Always a big, strong communist until those capitalist dollars come calling in before a bunch of chode-riding sycophants storm in defending Hasan's honor. Father, husband, Catholic. I feel like this is a bot, no? But yeah, will they respond to this? I don't think so. But we shall see. Pape is big mad. What is this? Are the Democratic Socialists winning Democratic primaries actually Democrats, or are they just using the party infrastructure to get on the ballot? Democratic Socialists of America co-chair Ashik Siddiq joins Katie to discuss. Pretty funny seeing all these DSA people on the news now making the news host look ridiculous. Yeah, I love it personally.
Actually Democrats, or are you just using the party's infrastructure to get on the ballot and then take over the party?
Well, something we think is really important is democracy. Democratic is in our name, and we mean that by the small d democratic. We believe in democracy in practice, and that should be a core value of the Democratic Party. But in practice, they haven't really been operating in a democratic way. The Democratic Party, especially in recent decades, has become pretty beholden to mega donors, to people representing big tech, representing fossil fuel industries, representing military-industrial complex, weapons companies. So that is increasingly distant from the voting base of the Democratic Party. We think that the Democratic Party is its voters, or it should be. But in practice, it's been all these donors who are shaping what the politics are in Congress and in the federal government, and increasingly in local politics. So we mean democratic. Like we want to organize democracy at every level of our society.
Democrats.
We want the. I mean, we're running as Democrats. We're operating in a
Winning as Democrats, not just running, winning as Democrats.
democratic way. So if the Democratic Party leadership feels like that's a threat, then I think they're the ones who aren't Democrats.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because another co-founder that you guys have, Gustavo Gordia, said that you guys are you admitted that you're using the infrastructure that the party has set up for ballot access. And that's what you're doing. Is that fair to say that that's what you're doing? You're not actually Democrats. You're using the process that's already in place to gain power.
No one cares about the brand, okay? What are we talking about? This is not like Nike versus Adidas, okay? No one cares about the brand. Clearly, the voters have appetite for this kind of politics, a real hunger for this kind of politics. One must ask the question why people who have voted Democrats their whole lives are looking at the options where they have a Democratic Socialist on the ballot, and then they have an establishment Democrat on the ballot, and they're going, oh my God, how refreshing that I can vote for someone who actually champions the causes I fucking care about. I believe that these people have an investment. That's what they're saying. It's not like the DSA candidates are running and they're running on the Democratic ticket by duping voters into voting for them by being like, oh yeah, just if you vote for us, we're I mean, I don't even know what the fucking analog would be here. It's so stupid. The real question is, why have the Democrats lied about advancing an agenda that is so closely similar to the Democratic Socialists of America's agenda? Why have they lied about that? Because they clearly haven't delivered results. That's it. It's so stupid. For years and years, they told us, oh, you cannot vote for a third party. What do you mean? You want fascism to win? You can't vote for a fucking third party. What are you doing? Right? So then we run in the party and they go, no, you can't do that either. At a certain point, you got to realize, like, oh, they just want establishment Democrats that are beholden to corporate interests to control the party, to be the only viable option. We knew that already, and we're stress testing that reality right now.
Hour.
Well, we would ask everybody, including voters of the Democratic Party, of what are Democrats? You know, like, is it just you're attaching yourself to people who you think sound good on TV, or are you voting for people who represent your values? Mm-hmm. The Democratic Party, again, like, when you're voting, what are you voting for? What do you want to see in practice? What do you want to happen in government? So the policies that we're representing, and yeah, we run as Democrats, I don't think I personally identified as anything until when I was 18 years old. I voted for the first time for president. Obama was actually the first president that I voted for, and I was very happy to vote for him at the time. I was very against the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. I believed in hope and change at the time that he was campaigning on. And then I didn't see a Democratic government deliver on a lot of the promises at the time. So many people mobilized for the Obama campaign, including me. And we were really inspired, and we wanted to deliver on those promises. So that's what we're about. That's what millions of Democratic voters are about. And people are not seeing the Democratic Party deliver.
Oh. It's about the policies, man. That's it. It's about the issues. It's about the policies. And it's clear that more radical politics is something that the base wants. Turns out it's not so radical. Okay?
About expanding democracy in every part of our lives, and we want to democratically handle how militarized our society has become. Why does the United States spend $1 trillion on a military budget while we can't repair roads and bridges, while we can't provide for childcare for everybody? We should be funding babies and not bombs. Why does our government spend billions of dollars per year on the state of Israel while it's doing genocide, while it was already enacting apartheid?
Israel's not committing a genocide.
You know, like, I was raised to...
Oh, that's awesome.
Believe in Israel is committing a genocide. Israel has killed tens of thousands of civilians. Many of them are children and families. And we see that happening. We saw it live streamed for 2 years, and we reject that. We don't think that should be happening anywhere in the world, and we don't think the United States should be funding it. I think we are about expanding democracy in every part of our lives, and we want to democratically handle.
Israel's not committing a genocide. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Classic now. Yeah, pretty revealing that what galvanized centrist Dems was losing to a couple DSA candidates, not, for example, losing to a bunch of corrupt fascists who want to end democracy. Yep. They're used to losing to the fascist right. They're comfortable losing to the fascist right. That's their favorite type of loss. What they will not stand for is allowing a more honest and more representative democratic process to take root within the Democratic Party. What they will not stand for is reinstilling confidence in the base of support that a better future is possible, that you can have politicians who actually are responsive to the needs of the masses, who actually will hear their demands and say, you're right, we will fight for it. That's it. Branko Marcetic writes, one of the notable developments from Tuesday's elections is the DSA and Democratic Social becoming a distinct and positive brand among voters. This was not the case even a few years ago when candidates and door knockers weren't always leading with their DSA association. This is a major change, and I think even more so than AOC, even though she obviously was operating in a very different political environment initially, Zoran's unapologetic brand of democratic socialism as a cadre candidate and now a very successful and very popular mayor is what has done, what has played a major role in flipping the script, where now people are trying to associate themselves with democratic socialism because democratic socialism has become a popular association. What did I tell you? Even in the early stages of Zoran's campaign, what did I tell you? The goal here is to run democratic socialists, have them win as democratic socialists, and then have them govern as democratic socialists so that the association with democratic socialism is an association of good governance. So when they think about democratic socialism, they think about fast and free buses. They think about delivered campaign promises like freezing the rent, which Zoran's team and the DSA delivered 2 days ago, right? And then from that point on, you bring in more people into the fold. You bring in more people into the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. You engage in political education and you foment class consciousness, and you simultaneously continue electing more and more democratic socialists into positions of power, and they are all good at their jobs. Hopefully they're good at governance. They're responsive to the needs of their base, of their constituents. And we change the electoral system a little bit. We make necessary changes that we want to see, little by little. Who knows where that might go later down the line. Here's what Zoran said about being the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November, and over the course of these last 6 months, what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible.
Okay, now he's getting confident. Good. That's good. I mean, look. He's performing all of the expectations that were required of him, that were demanded of him, that I would have wanted him to do. Obviously, there's still going to be criticisms, and there's definitely some significant criticisms there. But yeah, he's definitely exceeding my expectations, I would say. I did not expect him to be this much of a movement leader. Okay. What are your top 3 criticisms of him? Tish as police commissioner, not disbanding the SRG, and I guess increasing headcount for the NYPD. Those are some pretty significant ones. He's taking your shine. Brother, it is not my shine. Okay? It's our shine. What did I say when Zoran Mamdani won? Okay? What did I say? I said he's making my job much easier. He's making my life much easier because I can just point to him and say, do that. Right? I was pretty open about it. At the end of the day, my own personal feelings, my familiarity, the representation that I see in Zoran is utterly immaterial. It's totally secondary to the policies. He is an elected representative. He's a mayor, and he has to deliver. And as a movement leader, he has to deliver as well. As long as he continues to understand the role that he plays in this much larger movement, and I'm certain that he understands it, by the way. He definitely does. I can confidently say that he does, especially because he put a lot of political capital on the line with the DSA slate. There was a little bit of fear from my end that he wasn't going to do this, and he did. And I have to fucking respect that. He proved to not just myself, but I think to everyone else paying close attention to what's going on in New York City politics, that he is that guy. Okay? He is that guy. There was no guarantee that it would have been a clean sweep, by the way. There was no guarantee. We all played a role in it. We all fucking pushed for it. And now, instead of turning his back on this movement and turning this into the Zoran Mamdani popularity project, he is playing the exact role that he was supposed to. He is a movement leader. But the movement is still larger than he is, and he understands that, and he understands the role that he plays in this movement. I do as well. Do you see what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example. I eat a great deal of shit, right? It'd be much easier for me to not eat a great deal of shit. I could just be a fucking neoliberal commentator if I cared about my personal brand and my own personal reputation and making money. I wouldn't make any risky moves. Or rather, I'd make less risky moves, and then I'd also align myself in a similar manner to Midas Touch, for example, with a lot of establishment Democrats. I wouldn't be outwardly hostile or openly antagonistic to pro-Israel politicians, for example. What has that brought me? Only enmity, only angst, only hatred. It's brought me a ban from a foreign country, from the United Kingdom. It's brought me a bipartisan condemnation bill with demands attached to it of deplatforming, right? But I understand the role that I play in this process. It's brought me literal drones to my house. Shouts out to Rupert Murdoch. You know? But I do it because I understand the role I play in agitprop. You don't want it enough? It is economically illogical for you not to maximize your income? Wait, what? You don't want it enough? It is economically illogical for you not to maximize your income? Okay. So why am I not doing that? Oh. He was just joking. Yeah, well, there's a hype train going on. So if you want to economically maximize my income, subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service. Support independent media. You can subscribe. You can gift subs. We're at level 3 hype train with 3 minutes and 42 seconds remaining. If you subscribe, you can use emotes all around the platform. But also on top of that, you can... we've already watched this video like a million times, man. I don't know why we're fucking looking at this again. Set to it, run! Thank you for the 50 bones. 100 earlier too in the morning when I first started. I saw that.
New York's outdoor public pools open today. Luckily, I'm already in my swimsuit.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Goated. Don't you dare talk shit? No, dude. No. Look. I've made it very clear, okay? Zoran is that man, okay? He is him. He is that guy. And we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate that his success has led to a sequence of victories from candidates that are even more radical than he is, okay? Because we can build on each individual success. Zoran's victory allowed the DSA slate to win. That's not a secret, okay? And he pushed a lot for it. He put a lot of, he gambled a lot of political clout here, and it was a big gamble, and it ended up working really well for not just Zoran personally, but everything that happens, everything that he does, every success that we can put on the board is a success for this movement because he is still a movement guy. It paid off, and it will hopefully continue to pay off. From Zoran Mamdani and Adam Hamawi and Chris Rabb and all these other candidates, you can directly chart a path of victory to Claire Valdez and Daria Liza. And from Claire Valdez and Daria Liza, you can point to a path of victory for Melot Kiros next Tuesday. But it doesn't end there. It won't end there. From that point on, we will keep building on this momentum. Abdul Al-Sayed, okay? Abdul Al-Sayed in Senate. Oliver Larkin, hopefully. Elijah Manley. Hartzell in KC. Maybe Charles Booker. Justin Pearson in Memphis, which is going to be a very tough battle. Some of these are going to be very, very tough battles. Okay? Graham Plattner. We got a long road ahead of us. Toby Durden in South Dakota, running for governor of South Dakota, the only man who can build a wall between South Dakota and North Dakota. I know he's a Republican. Anyway, speaking of which, if you want to carry the flame, we're at level 6 hype train. At level 10 hype train, we will carry the flame once again at the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service, sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people, and nothing else. Some of these races are going to be a lot harder than others. Francesca Hong, running for governor in Wisconsin, has a real shot. Cory Bush has a real shot. We win that seat. We'll claw that seat back from the hands of AIPAC for Cory. Here's the thing. Oliver Larkin as well. I brought him up already. I hope I didn't forget. Yeah. My Vang in California is another great one. Angela Gonzalez-Torres, also in California. Another great example. Randy Villegas, also in California. There are far greater numbers of representation of this sort of politics than ever before. Donovan McKinney in Detroit. Are all of these socialists? Some of these candidates that I've mentioned are either DSA affiliated, running as democratic socialists, or are aligned with the agenda of democratic socialism. Okay? all of them could be broadly defined as either Bernie-crats, Justice Democrats, or I think in the broadest ways, we can say left populists.
We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history. That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well.
Republicans are going to...
Hype train is at level 7, folks. Hype train is at level 7. Julie Gonzalez as well, running against Hickenpooper, sorry, in Colorado. Look, there's a lot of names, man. Give me a fucking break. You know how difficult it is to keep track of every goddamn race happening in every part of the country? I'm sorry, I apologize.
Make you...
Victory for proves that a more responsive centers the it proves that a more responsive politics that centers the working class is possible. It proves that a more responsive politics that centers the working class is possible. It reinstills confidence in good governance. Restores confidence in good governance. Don't let the flame die out. Yeah, level 7 hype train. We're at level 8 hype train. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at level 8 hype train. You lied. No Jube scam fun day. No, I got Jube. I got Jube on the docket. Why do you hate your neighboring state of Arizona asking for a friend? Wait, Kai Newkirk, you mean? I've talked to him. He was at the Claire victory party. I'm gonna see what I can do with him. Only because I think it's really funny to be like Hasan Piker carries the flame with Kai Newkirk. And Newkirk has been unlocked. Which, by the way, you can carry the flame today on the Hasanabi broadcast by subscribing. We have yet to carry the flame today. But a victory. It proves that a more responsible politics that centers the working class is possible. It restores confidence in good governance. Play this remix if we get to 10? No. I already have the Kirk, the new Kirk lined up. Would you consider getting Tallarico on if he would be a guest? I know someone who's worked with him and is in regular contact. Sure. I mean, James Tallarico is working with some interesting groups, so I don't know if he would think that I would be a benefit to his campaign and candidacy in Texas. I think so, but he might have a different opinion. I am a Californian after all. And not only am I a Californian, but I'm, somewhat of a radical in my worldview. I think my politics would be, hello. I think my kind of politics would be good in the state of California, or in the state of Texas, but Level 8 hype train, 2 minutes remaining at 80%, ladies and gentlemen. Kaya also wants to carry the flame. Primary runoffs in Louisiana. Any thoughts? No. You can talk about Jesus or some shit. Yeah, he can convert me to Christianity. Maybe. 85% at 1 minute remaining. 1 minute remaining, ladies and gentlemen. 85%, 90% at 1 minute remaining. 94% at level 8 hype train. Level 9 hype train unlocked. Carrying the motherfucking flame. Let's get back to AOC.
Investigations sometimes yield to either state pursuits, etc. And, Mike Johnson paints this as though it's some partisan witch hunt. But if you don't want to be prosecuted for crimes, don't do crimes. And he's talking about running a protection racket. And we are already seeing that this Trump administration has run what some have called one of the largest pedophile protection programs in American history in the cover-up of the Epstein files. They violated the law when Congress mandated that they release the Epstein files. They're still hiding Epstein files, protecting some of the most gruesome behavior that is shocking to the human conscience. And so when Mike Johnson tells a group of wealthy donors, I'm the only thing standing between you and a consequence, that should rattle at the conscience of every American. What he wants to do is create, and rather not even create because it's already been created, but protect a class of impunity in America that say you can commit whatever crime, and so long as you pay a check to us, we will protect you. And that is a model of extortion in American politics. And you know what? That's their pitch. That's their pitch. But at the end of the day, like I've always said, they have money, but we've got people. And that's why our pitch needs to be focused on making the lives of everyday Americans better. Because they're sure as hell going to be making the lives of billionaires better and better and better every year. Our job is to make the lives of single mothers and working families and students
Mother
trying
Nature's
to
showing up. Thank you for the 5
through
gifted.
school and mechanics trying to keep a business afloat. That needs to be our focus. And that's the only way that we're going to be able, I think, to turn this ship around, is through tackling on the extreme levels of inequality and corruption that persist in America.
We're here, of course, in Washington, D.C. tonight, and J.D. Vance, I played this at the top of the show. Did you see what he had to say about Nixon and Watergate?
Okay,
I just have to
thank you
ask
for the
you about
5.
this because I started the show talking about how I think
44%, 2 minutes
telling
remaining.
on himself or themselves a little bit. I mean,
Black Wasabi,
the
thank you for the 10.
notion that if Watergate happened tomorrow, it would be like a 12-hour news story is quite a statement to make. Obviously, he was down playing Watergate,
Drunk
which
bullshit,
is
thank you
insane
for the
to begin
10.
with. But what do you make?
Come to Belgium, please. I will be coming to Belgium, actually. I will be visiting, I think, the EU. Not real Chris Evans. LC12223, thank you for the 10. Pockets you, thank you for the 5. Jaeger, oh wait, Larson, thank you for the 5. And that's it, folks. We've done did it. We done did it. And I know I said I was going to play Indian. I was going to play the Bollywood Charlie Kirk. But instead, I'm going to play this one.
天边晨光照大地呀，照得亮。人群心里有方向呀，有担当。风再大也不退后啊，不彷徨。一句真话像钢铁呀，响当当。家中灯火守誓言呀，守信仰。路上荆棘也昂首。